Hello and welcome to probably the final episode of the Good Dram show before Christmas with me, Chris Goodrum. Right, okay, so with Christmas just around the corner, thoughts tend to turn to cognac or armagnac or brandy or whatever. So let's look at some cognac today. As is often the case, it just seems to be that sort of Christmas is one of those kind of ritualistic moments, shall we say. You have the wine with the Christmas meal, you have your port with the Christmas pudding or the cheese, and then you have your nice glass of cognac and mince pie and sit down to watch Mrs. Queenie waffle on about whatever and probably fall asleep, if that's pretty much like my family used to be like. As soon as the Queen comes on, all gone. Anyway, so we're going to look at cognac, and not just any old cognac. We're looking at a new range, or part of the new range of cognacs that Gauntly's that we are upstocking. So I think that basically gives you a clue as to what I think of them. And the cognac we'll be looking at is Cognac Richard Delisle. I think I've pronounced that correctly, but not being French, see the previous episode. My pronunciation is probably pretty pants. Right, so Cognac Delisle is owned by the Carbin family, currently run by a chap called Alexis Carbin, who I believe is the 6th generation to run the family property. They own 80 odd hectares of vines in and around Grande Champagne and Bois. Now, I like Bois. I mean, a lot of people, yeah, it's got to be Grande Champagne, you know, it's the soil and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I think there's some great cognacs made in the Bois. It's a different soil type. I believe it's more limestone, marl over limestone, I think. Gives a different character to the spirit. It gives it a sort of a lighter, possibly a little bit more elegance at times, certainly with a bit of age. I mean, obviously Grande Champagne cognacs have the power and they have the, you know, but sometimes you want something a bit lighter. But anyway, that's beside the point. So so the Carbin family, they've been doing this since apparently 1686. And there's a number of these small little producers, although small in relative terms, should we say. They have 15 stills and can produce almost 6,500 hectolitres of pure alcohol in a distilling season. So, you know, not a minuscule kind of distillery like some of the Scottish distilleries. You know, fairly large. Anyway, so that's the company. I don't have a huge amount of information to go on apart from they've been doing this for a long time. And the thing about cognac producers is you're multi-skilled. I mean, not only have you got to produce the base wine, unless you buy it in, of course. So, you know, whether you're sort of, it's Colombard or Nuit Blanc or Fort Blanche or whatever, you want a sort of like a fairly acidic wine that will distill quite nicely into cognac. So obviously, but first off, you need to be a winemaker, and then you need to be a spirit maker. So, you know, these cognac producers, you know, multi-skilled people, and you know, like I said, they've been doing it for generations. So so you would have thought they know what they're talking about and what they're doing. So anyway, let's introduce this afternoon's little lineup then, shall we? Right, so Cognac Richard Delisle. I mean, they do a VS and a VSOP, which I'm not going to be tasting today. I have tasted both of them, and you know, for their price, they're pretty impressive spirits. They're really nice. They do. I'll just introduce the range. Anyway, so we'll kick off with the XO. This is the one that's in a nice decanter like bottle. It's bottled at 46%. This is from wine made from their own vineyards in Petit Champagne and Bois. So that will be an interesting sort of starting point, because then we'll see how it differs to the collection Prestige XO. Which is all Grand Champagne, which I believe is made from bought-in grapes. As you know, XO is not, as I keep saying, a quality statement, it's an age statement. The spirit has to be a minimum of 6 years old, aged in French oak, whether Limousin or Troncaise, and that's it. That's all there is to it. It's 6-year-old plus. Most spirits, quality XOs tend to be considerably older, 10, 15, even older. So, but anyway, I don't know the exact age of the spirits in that, but I would guess from tasting them, they are moderately aged, shall we say. The third spirit we'll be looking at, again, is another Grand Champagne XO, this time bottled at 42%, called Club Cigare. I think the raison d'etre, as they say, is fairly obvious for that. It's supposedly spicier, darker, and works well with a nice cigar, is the general reasoning for that particular bottling, but we shall obviously see when we get there. And finally, we're going to be looking at one that you can't get your hands on because it's all sold out. Yeah, I know, bummer. It's the 1965 Fin Bois. Now, this was bottled at 60.4%. How in God's name do you get a 45-year-old spirit to retain the alcohol to over 60%? I mean, my God, those casks, whew, tighter than a gnat's chuff, that's all I can say. They didn't let much much out, shall we say. The Angels didn't really get much of a share of that little lot. Anyway, so that will be interesting. Like I said, it's not currently available. I think the current available vintage at this cask strength, in inverted commas, is the 75, and I've not tasted that, but we've obviously got that little gem to finish off with. So anyway, that's enough about the waffling. Let's taste some damn good cognac then, shall we? Oops, shouldn't have said that. Let's just taste some cognac. Okay, so let's kick off with the XO. Let's see what the nose gives us on this end. That is lovely, really nice. Elegant, floral, a little bit of violets, some elegant, gentle dried fruits, a little bit of that classic cognac rancio. Some warm spirits, warm spices, slightly dusty spices, but it's just got this wonderful vibrancy and elegance to it. Fresh. Like I said, I'm probably guessing spirit is about 8, 10, possibly 12 years old, I would have thought. It still retains, it's not got that sort of old Armagnac-y, cognac-y kind of feel to it, but it's still got so much character. So a light sort of almost apricot-y sweetness, a little bit of honey, a light nuttiness. Oh, really, really elegant. It comes in a lovely decanter as well. I mean, it has to be said. The presentation is absolutely fantastic. Palate. Layers, spicy, but not overly spicy, sort of taut, apricot, honey, nutty, dried fruits, very sort of almost in the kind of sultana-y kind of dried fruits, but there is a little bit of darker fruit creeping in, a little bit of raisin, a little bit of prune, but not too much. It's all really, really nicely balanced. Again, vibrant, fresh, touch of orange rind on the finish. Oh, that's fantastically good. I mean, that is just wonderfully fresh. It's elegant. That is a lovely, lovely cognac. Okay, so moving on to the collection Prestigio. So let's see what this is made of then, shall we? Well, straight off the bat, it's darker, it's richer, it's more powerful, which is Grand Champagne. Not to say that it hasn't got elegance, it's just very different from the XO, from the Grand Champagne and Fin Bois. There's a darker rancio to it, slightly more licorice, darker honey, toffee, no, not toffee, dark honey, darker dried fruits, nuts, walnuts. Feels like the spirit might be a little bit older, but I'm guessing again possibly more towards the sort of 12 to 15, maybe a little bit older than that. It's just starting to develop that sort of wonderful aged character. Again, really powerful, intense. Palate. Oh yeah, that's powerful. Big flavours, really intense, slightly earthy, darker honey, dried fruits, bit of walnuts, little bit of almost toastiness, that sort of grippy French oak tannin coming through right on the finish. All lovely balanced, lovely honeyed character, darker, a little bit more spice. Wow, yeah, that's good spirit, and I like that. That's nice. Right, okay, moving on to the Club Cigar, bottled at 42%. So let's see what that extra 2% of alcohol does to it, shall we? A little bit more intense, more. The focus is more on the spices, the tobacco, the darker spices. Still rich, quite cognac-y. Stupid thing to say, I know, but it's got a lightness to it. Probably, I guess the spirit is a little bit younger than the Collection Prestige. It's got a vibrancy, a little bit of citrus note coming through. Darker walnuts, prunes. Yeah, that's kind of powerful stuff, it has to be said. But again, classic elegance to it. It's not spirity, it's not rough. Wonderfully smooth. Palate. Yeah, really spicy, thicker, more unctuous than the Collection Prestige, but again feels younger. Maybe not quite as complex, but more spice, more leather, more tobacco. A little bit more drying on the finish, a little bit more tannin, but still wonderful dark dried fruits. A little bit of raisinated fruit, walnuts, dark coffee. Oh, great, wonderful aftertaste. That really is really nice. I can see that working with a fairly dark cigar, something like maybe a Maduro leaf wrapper, or maybe a Cohiba or a Partagas, something like that. I'd certainly team that with a Partagas, it has to be said. So, nice. Finally, on to the 1965. Like I said, bottled at 60.4%. 60.4%. Can you believe that? 40 odd years old, 45 years old, and that kind of ABV. But anyway, let's see what the nose gives us. Oh, dusty, almost kind of American oak maturity. That sort of dusty oak character. Violets, apricots, high toned and citrusy, crisp. That is wonderfully intense. A little bit of earth, some light honey. I mean, the alcohol is obviously what's giving it that kind of freshness, and it's kind of just really nicely balanced. You kind of ignore the slightly fresher note. You can smell the obvious maturity, that sort of really dusty oak and dried fruits, and some bit of dried apple, apricot, nuts. Yeah, this is my kind of cognac, has to be. I mean, I like the sort of darker XOs, the sort of the rich Grand Champagne, but you've just got, this is more whiskey like, you know. And if you're a whiskey drinker, this is the kind of cognac that you would certainly absolutely fall in love with. Oh, it's just so elegant, lightly perfumed, but you know, real character, real personality. Palate. Ooh, that's dry, but the pepper, the apricots, the tannin, the dried fruit, the elegant, minerally, almost chalky kind of character. Lovely, elegant dried fruits. Again, it's got that wonderful maturity, that length. The length is superb. It just goes on and on and on. But the alcohol is just kind of all the while giving it that kind of almost mouth-wateringly fresh finish to it. Slightly dusty aftertaste, a little bit of violet, quite granity almost. Wow, one hell of a spirit. I mean, I think that's obviously, well, I mean, probably, I guess, would have retailed somewhere in the region of the £250 mark, and wow, worth every penny if you've got that kind of deep pockets. Don't know, like I said, don't know what the 75 is like, which is its replacement. I've not tasted that, but yeah, if it's anything close to that, then it's certainly worth the money. But wow, lovely way to finish a tasting, as we said. Okay, so let's sum this little tasting up. So I must admit, I'm always a little bit reticent when it comes to sort of taking on a new cognac property. There's always, because we have, as you know, we have Savarin, we have Trougeot, and you know, they sell really well. People come back year after year to buy them, and it's always difficult to break a new cognac. I mean, I've tried on several occasions. You know, we've done Delisle, we've done, you know, you name it, we've done it. You know, and they're not crap cognacs. You know, they're great cognac houses. We've attempted to sort of like integrate, and at the end of the day, it's always been the same. It's always been a struggle. I think the one thing that kind of sets Richard Delisle's cognacs apart is the price point. I mean, the VS is really well priced at about sort of like £32. The VSOP, again, likewise, I think just under 40. Really good prices. The XOs, you know, a little bit more expensive, obviously, as you would expect, but you know, the packaging is really attractive. And what's inside the cognac is really nice, and you know, I kind of like the sort of the smaller boutique kind of properties. You know, I'm not interested in Martell, Hennessy, Remy, etc. You know, I'm not interested in Louis XIII, and yeah, I'm sure it's pretty damn bloody good, but you know, it's the bottom end of the spectrum. Like I keep saying to customers, it's a case of like, yeah, okay, pretty much every cognac producer stick their cognac in a cask or casks, leave it for 40 odd years, you're going to get something that's got a relative amount of complexity. What interests me is the younger spirit. How good a quality is the younger spirit, because if the young spirit is good quality, it just stands to reason that the whole range is going to be good quality. And when you're a huge cognac producer bottling thousands upon thousands of bottles, you're buying in you're either buying in spirit, you know, you more often than not, from contract distillers. You grade it, you decide that's going to go in a VS, that's going to go in the whatever, and it's always going to be, you know, the cheap stuff goes in the cheap stuff, you know, and cognac probably more so than any other spirit. You get what you pay for at the end of the day. If you're going to buy a bottle of cognac for less than 20 quid, for argument's sake, it ain't going to be that great, you know. You've got to spend a little bit of money on getting a decent quality spirit. Not a huge amount, you know, 30 odd quid will still get you, you know, a good entry level VS. Whereas if you're prepared to spend sort of £50-60, that's where you're starting to get the real interesting stuff. And hell, you know, come on, you know, you're prepared to spend sort of several £100s on presents and turkeys and all that kind of stuff. You know, don't forget the decent quality alcohol, you know, at the end of the day. So anyway, coming back to the cognacs today, Richard Delisle cognacs are very, very good, really interesting. They each have their own personality. The XO has just got a lovely freshness, a lovely classic, almost Finoir-y kind of character. The collection XO Prestige, again, classic Grand Champagne power, but elegance and real interest. The Club Cigar, yeah, I can see the attraction of that. Again, slightly younger spirit, darker, spicier, a little bit more intensity, bottled at a slightly higher ABV for that, you know, extra intensity. Yeah, I can see that really working well with a cigar. And if the 75 is anywhere close to being as good as the 65, well, you know, lovely cognac. And just goes to show that the cognacs out of the Finoir region are don't play second fiddle to Grand Champagne. Everybody says Grand Champagne is the best, and well, yeah, I suppose you can argue that, but Finoir gives you something slightly different. Like I said, it gives you a lighter, elegant character, and there's no way that they are, in my opinion, inferior to Grand Champagne cognacs. So there you have it. That's I don't know whether I will have time to do another episode of the show before the end of the year, but if I don't, I would like to say a big thank you to everyone that's watched the show, carries on watching the show, comments. You know, that's why I kind of carry on doing it, because you guys obviously like what I'm doing. So so Merry Christmas to you. Hopefully you will have some cracking spirits over the Christmas period. Drink responsibly. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't need to say that. But anyway, have a great Christmas, and if I don't do another one in the new year, I will see you in the new year, and we'll be tasting some more great spirits. So, good afternoon.